Are you wanting to know which dyslexic advantage you should share with your child? Well, I have 5 that I wish I knew growing up, and I'm going to share those with you today. By the way, my name is Kathleen, and I'm a dyslexic here to help other dyslexics. I help parents understand their child's frustration with dyslexia so they can support, encourage, and empower them. Dyslexia is such a funny thing. It affects every single individual different. And most of the time, some individuals don't even know they have it. And so they go their entire lives not knowing that they have this unique ability to do things. And unfortunately, it has gotten a bad rap because all we hear about is what dyslexics can't do. We hear that we can't read. We hear that we can't write. We hear that we can't sometimes do comprehension, that we struggle with this and it's just hard. And so that's what we think. And sometimes it definitely affects self-esteem and confidence because all we hear about are the things that we can't do. But I'm here to change that. And once I realized that there were so many advantages to being a dyslexic, it totally changed my outlook on being a dyslexic, and I started to embrace it and talk about it and want to help other dyslexics. So I'm going to share 5 of those that I wish I had known growing up. So the first one is we're really good at visualizing things or thinking 3D. So when you stop and think about it, we see things in pictures where everybody else sees things in black and white. So it's just, that's how it is, where we're like, well, can we change the status quo? And we're really good at that. And if you look at famous dyslexics, they have gone on to change the world. And so looking at it, I had this capability growing up and I loved it, but I didn't realize that it was because of my dyslexia. And one of the things that I could always see, like in high school and college, is whenever I got an assignment, I could see the finished product before I even started. And with that, I was able to work backwards almost to make my vision come into reality. And so they would describe the project, and as they were describing it, I would build it in my head, and then I would go on to create that project and make it come to life. And if I had something elaborate in my head, I would find a way to make it happen. And so I didn't know that this was part of dyslexia, but it is. And you can use it for projects. You can use it once you get out too for helping companies and seeing the future and what you want. So this is a great one to focus on and help your children know that they think 3D and that this is because of their dyslexia. So the second one is good at oral comprehension. In the beginning, we need to be taught strategies on how to comprehend. But once we are taught those strategies, we actually become really good at comprehending things. It's not as easy to comprehend things that we read to ourselves, but it's much easier to comprehend things that we hear. So that's one of the reasons a lot of people use assistive technology like text-to-speech, because we get to hear it instead of just reading it, which gives us our time back. But one of the things that I learned since then is that I was actually really good at comprehending Shakespeare. This was something that most people didn't understand, and I was able to make really interesting connections with things out of this world that nobody else thought of. And I remember watching the gears turn in all my classmates once I would speak up and say something about it when I was doing the Shakespeare. But if I sat there and read it myself, those connections didn't happen and that comprehension didn't happen. But once it was read to me, it became so much easier and I was able to participate and give the answers. Number 3 is simplifying complex ideas. This is by far one of my favorites because it just comes so naturally to me. I'm able to take something very, very complex and break it down and make it into something more manageable and easier to do. And I did this in the workforce. I know that I probably did it when it came to projects and doing things. And so sometimes you just have to see the end and then work backwards to make it easier. My favorite one is when I did this in the business world. We had a very complex system in place with lots of people, and we had to do it every week, and it was just daunting. And the person who ran it became so frustrated that my boss told me I was in charge and not to let him down. I didn't realize at the time that it was my Dyslexic Advantage stepped in and took over, and I came up with a very easy to follow and manageable plan that everybody was able to, and I gave each person a task based on what they were good at and what they could do. And the project ran better than any other week, and we continued to use it the entire time I was there. So taking things and making them simple is definitely a huge dyslexic advantage that you need to focus on and help your children understand that this is part of their dyslexia. Dyslexics are really good at entrepreneurial skills or just running a business in general. And the statistic of how many self-made millionaires are dyslexic just keep going up. I know in the last year it's actually jumped to 40%. So this is another one that dyslexics are really good at. We are able to understand just how business works and take things and do them and use them to our advantage to create a business, to solve problems, to help other people. And I just love that. I am currently working on being an entrepreneur myself by helping other dyslexics. I know that I've talked to so many other dyslexics that are just like, I didn't get to go to college, or I didn't want to go to college, but I wanted to do this and became an entrepreneur and have been very, very successful. So encouraging your child, if they have a great idea and they want to run with it and create their own brand and idea, then definitely encourage that, because most of these things that we're talking about do not equate to things that we see in school. And that's what makes it so hard, is dyslexics spend so much time not realizing the things they're good at because they don't show up in school settings. The things that are challenging to us show up in school settings. The next one that ties in is problem solver. We are really good at listening to people and solving their problems. We're able to identify what the problem is and help them resolve it quickly by just listening to what's going on. We're able to do this for lots of people. I know that I do it for my family all the time. They'll tell me what's going on, and I'm like, here's the problem, and this is how we need to fix it. I know I help my mom in her business from time to time because she gets overwhelmed with it, and I'm like, this is the easiest way to do this. Let's do it this way, or we will I'll help my husband with a problem. I'll help a friend with a problem. This is actually one that we really thrive at, that a lot of people don't see, that we are able to identify what the problem is quickly, and we're able to figure out a solution. So I have one more, or a bonus for you. After listening to all these things I wish that I had known growing up, when you sit down and think about it, it means that we are critical thinkers. We are able to sit down and think. And most of the time, it takes a dyslexic longer to process some information and everything. But if you allow them the time they need, then they are busy thinking and critically thinking about the situation, and they will give you an answer that nobody else will. But you've got to give them the time to process everything that's going on. I hope you enjoyed these 5 things I wish I had known. In fact, there are so many more that I wish I had known growing up. It is so much fun and so encouraging to talk about the dyslexic advantages that are out there. In fact, I have researched for quite some time and I have found over 52 of them. And I have put them all together in something I would like to call Dyslexic Advantage Camp. This is something that I have worked tirelessly on for a very long time, and it is ready to share with you. And so inside Dyslexic Advantage Camp are all the things that I struggled with as a dyslexic and how to make those easier for somebody else. I go over what dyslexia is. I go over why to advocate for yourself. I go over mindset. I also go over all of the advantages that I have found, and there are a lot of them, and it is so much fun to talk about all of this. And then also, I've taken and looked at a lot of famous dyslexics and what has made them famous and their career paths, and I share all of those with you. So looking back on it, if I had known the things that I know now, I probably more than likely would have picked a totally different career path just because that's what I like doing and it encourages me to think differently. And so I don't want that to be for your child. I don't want your child to one day realize that they never knew about the advantages of being a dyslexic growing up, but then they learn about them as an adult and they wish that they had gone on to use their dyslexia in a different way. And so that is why I put this camp together, and I'm going to leave it in the description below. I really wish you would take some time to look at it. It is so full of information, and your child is going to feel so confident and empowered at the end, and I can't wait to share it with you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.